Unstoppable, unbreakable, shining bright, undeniable.
You're muted, Mark. Oh, I'm not sure if you're trying to be
That's
or
been
not.
everybody's dream, is to get me muted. But anyway, we're ready to get going. Thanks for being here. And aloha from beautiful Kauai, Hawaii. Don't worry, this isn't a travel piece. And look how wonderful my life is. I have this here. That's actually the spot where that brown dirt is, where Davian and I decided, we were saying, boy, it would be nice to live here. But when we saw that, Rebecca, we said, that's it. We made the decision, because when you turn to the left from there, we hiked up from that beach. When you turn from the left, that's what you see. But I don't have these here to show you that. Have you to remind you that if you hear a lot of screeching in the background, they're birds. I don't hear them anymore. Try to think of it as, wow, that's the sound of somebody's dream, which is great. I don't know if you hate this, but I absolutely hate this. You get invited to go to these master class. They drone on for 2.5 hours. They show up late. They self-aggrandize for 20 or 30 minutes because they're waiting for the call to fill up, disrespecting people like you that showed up on time. And then you get the dubious testimonials, and then it's back to self-aggrandizing. 30 minutes in, they'll tell you how they were living in a box under a bridge and they found this one thing and now their life is all better. Emotional manipulation about what you should do and how you should live your life, insulting you without realizing it. Then 10 minutes of content, and then an hour of a pitch about why you should spend $5,000 with them. Is it okay with you, Rebecca, if we just skip that? Can we skip that? Great. Okay. So Lori's going to knock out the agenda for us.
Yeah, here's our agenda. We're going to spend about 2 minutes on credentials for those of you who don't know us. And there are really no common people. So you're going to discover tonight that you are a creative genius. Okay. The ancients have been telling us this for over 5,000 years, and science now validates it. The mechanism between your ears is perfect. And we're going to talk about moving forward, how this can be the best years of your life, because there is a success formula that literally never fails. I certainly doubted that too, okay? And we're going to talk about moving from blocking this great potential within us, like I was, to unlocking it. So what you'll really learn is, one, you know that gut feeling that you've had now and then, that sense that you could do better, you could have more, you could be more? Well, it's actually true. Okay. Two, there are 5 biases that are unconsciously predetermining your life. And then the third thing you're going to learn is that there's a pathway to abundance and affluence in all areas of your life. And that's that ancient wisdom that I was referring to earlier that's now science has validated. So you probably know that this book became a bestseller in less than 48 hours. Okay. And there's a big reason for it.
Yeah, the big reason is right there. My partner, Lori, certified, like I said, we don't want to spend a lot of time telling you how great we are. This is really a great woman, certified with color code, certified as a guide for the Master Key experience. And she's had success in her whole life as a scientist, 20 years in a successful corporation. She started a catering business with her family. The first year they landed the Super Bowl for NBC, and they still say it's the best they've ever had. She's been in the top 1% of the earners for network marketers in the last 23 years. And she's a best-selling author in her first book. But what's really cool is it's all about her 4 grandbabies, 3 of them with Zach, and then we have Callie, a dash hound that's a pain in the ass, but she loves it. She's really the soul of what we do here. Okay.
He did that to get me laughing right now because it's true. Anyway, so Mark J., you may know of Mark through Standing Tall, which is now in its second printing. It's in 3 languages, number one bestseller. 2 more kids' books he did, and he created a sports puzzle that's been in national publications. Really cool. The business stuff, well, let me just say this. He's a legend, okay? And I'm not going to get into all the details, but let me touch on a few. Top producer at Combined, Britannica, Mutual New York. He was a top tier earner in 6 different home-based businesses. A world-class trainer whose workshops are always sold out months in advance. I can attest to that. And you see the pictures there. He's won numerous awards and contests in his time in the industry. Now, most importantly, he and his wife, Davian, are living their dream on Kauai, Hawaii. Now, should you care about all those blessings? No. What matters here is how blocks create frustration for people and how the 7 laws of the mind will knock them out of anyone's life, just like they did for Mark. Okay.
Yeah, and just like they did for Lori, and what we're really saying is what you're going to learn today is there's nothing to what I did. There's nothing to it except the unlocking of the blocks, right, Lori?
That's exactly right. And we've talked about the glory part. Okay. What you may not know is that there were 5 network marketing failures in the 80s. He was failing again in the 90s. And a simple discovery changed all of that. That discovery was that we are all creative geniuses. Okay. We've all heard of Aladdin's lamp, right? Aladdin's lamp is actually real. That's what you're going to discover. I mean, just think of it, right? If you actually had an Aladdin's lamp, your wish is my command. You remember that? Well, you actually do. The 7 laws of the mind and a mastermind alliance will unlock this primal power of being that we are all creative geniuses. In essence, we all, possess Aladdin's lamp. Now, I know that sounds a little ridiculous, maybe like woo-woo stuff, but it's not, okay? You know, just like you see Mark and Kawhi, their best-selling author, it wasn't that way until he made the great discovery I told you. It was the same for me. Yeah, he read all those successes about me, but when I entered my 50s, you guys, I was discontent, I was unfulfilled, and quite candidly, I was tired, okay? Like, what's the point? I had become a professional multitasker. My plate was overfilled. And then to feel better about not reaching the success that I really desired in my business, I had this habit of perpetually putting other people's needs first and then secretly had resentments about it, okay? Bottom line, I was mired in the momentum of mediocrity, like more than 90% of people are. So if you can identify with any of Mark's story or if any of my story, you're in the right place tonight, okay? What do I mean by mired in the momentum of mediocrity? Well, I was frustrated in my business attempts. I couldn't seem to break through. I'd set a goal, fall short, set a goal, fall short. And repeatedly, when that happens, it erodes away at your confidence. So it was this constant battle for me between self-doubt and then self-pity. And it was starting to dominate my thoughts. That was the key. Like most people, maybe you guys can identify with this, it was not only affecting my finances and my relationships, it was starting to affect my health. And I was reacting to daily challenges rather than creating a life. I mean, like, what happened to that girl who graduated college with a bright future who was going to tackle the world, right? Where'd she go? That's what I was thinking because the decades fly by. Well, then a synchronicity led to my great discovery. Okay. I was first introduced to Mark through a network marketing company. He didn't know me. Actually, I went to one of his trainings. And the moment I heard him speak, I could see this guy was playing a different game. Okay. Well, a few years later, a mutual friend actually introduced us, and I ended up taking his intensive 6-month course called the Master Key Experience. Now, in that course, the 7 laws of the mind were integrated. And I'm telling you, it changed the trajectory of my life. And during those months, he singled me out. We started working together, masterminding together. This wonderful friendship and partnership bloomed out of that. And throughout that time, he kept talking to me about my greatness. I call it Mark stuff. He gets real animated. You're golden inside. You are a creative genius. Do you realize that? And I have to tell you, it felt a little weird, kind of uncomfortable at first, but compelling, right? Over and over, he'd say, Lori, the mechanism is perfect. The mechanism is perfect. Sometimes the operator's just inexperienced, right? And I'm like, what is he talking about? Well, I started to see my blocks, okay? And then he said it again. The mechanism is perfect. You just have some faulty programs in there. Master your mind, master your life. It's that simple. The 7 laws of the mind will help you become a better operator, that brilliant, perfect mechanism that's sitting between your ears. And I wanted to believe him and felt a little bit strange. But look we're going to be telling you over and over what Mark told me, okay? And I was skeptical. Maybe you are too. You're being told you're a creative genius and that Aladdin's lamp is inside of you. So I want to do to you guys what he did to me, okay? He said, you do realize you're arguing against yourself, right? I'm arguing for you. You're arguing against yourself. Does that make sense, everybody? Think about that. All right. So he gave me social proof and then scientific proof. So what I want you guys to do now is grab an index card or a piece of paper. Okay. And you can fold it in half. Mark?
Yeah. Yeah. So grab a plain index card, and in the course of your life, maybe several times, maybe yesterday, maybe a few months ago, you said, gee, that Rebecca, she's great. Or, my sister, she's great. Or Joe, he's great. So you've used the word great about somebody. Okay. Because what we're doing here is we're going to give you social proof, and then we're going to give you scientific proof that you're a creative genius. But let's give you the social proof first, okay? Now remember this. If you take one thing from this webcast, take this. Players get paid and spectators pay to watch players play. And people have been paying to watch me play for years. And it breaks my heart. The Lauries decided to play along. So write the name of someone that you think is great. So I'm going to put my Uncle Dan. My dad died when I was 3, and my Uncle Dan and my Uncle Mo, they raised me. Okay, so that's who I have, Uncle Dan there. What now you want to turn the card over and just write down 8, 10 things. We're not looking for an essay. Why is Uncle Dan great? Why is your Sister Marie great? Why is the minister at your church great? Okay, so write that down. For example, I'll give you a couple. My Uncle Dan had a sense of humor. He loved animals. Okay, taught me baseball. He's honest. Okay. So write down 8, 10, 12 qualities. I'll give you another 30 seconds here. And by the way, this is how we teach. When you work with us, we work with you. We're not offering a course. We're not offering an app. We're offering hands-on guidance. The big marketing stuff out there right now is manipulating you because the American public has been led to want 3 things. It's got to be comfortable, it's got to be convenient, and it's got to be instant. We're talking about altering the financial and spiritual destiny of your life. So play along. Okay, let's see what we got. Okay, so we tend to respond to people that are on camera. Has anybody written down somebody that is great? Want to raise your hand? That would be great. Okay, sure. Let's use you, Rebecca. And we'll ask you to
There we
unmute.
go.
So who did you identify as great?
I wrote down my husband.
Okay. And
Okay.
his name?
His name is Doug.
Okay. Now, what qualities in him
I wrote
triggered
down,
that feeling?
well, I'm intrigued by his mind. I'm intrigued by his mind.
Hmm.
He loves to create. He's a very, very, I'll just read what I wrote. I wrote that he's intriguing, that he's very smart, that he's kind, that can use his brain to figure out anything. He can make anything, like he can build, he can do, what do you call that when you go backwards on something to figure something out?
Reverse engineer.
Yes, yes.
Hmm.
He loves to teach.
Hmm.
He loves to learn, and he's very creative and loves to have fun.
Okay.
So, yeah,
So who are you describing?
Doug,
Who are you describing?
my husband.
Who are you describing?
You keep saying that. I answered you.
Who are you really describing? You can say it.
You're saying I'm describing myself?
Yeah. You couldn't see those things if they weren't in your consciousness. And if he's great, what does that mean you are?
Great.
Great. Now, some of them may be more developed than him and some less, but the point is you couldn't see them if they weren't in you. So there's social proof of
Hmm.
greatness in you. Does that make sense?
I
Okay.
see what you're saying. Yep.
Yeah, I did the same thing again, Dave, where I lost the people. Anyway, so there's the social proof, and the rest is history, right, Lori?
Yeah, 100%. I remember going through that exercise and I picked my dad. And it was a pivotal moment for me, Rebecca. Okay. Because I had put him on a pedestal and I saw that like, oh my gosh, but it's true. There is no way that I could have recognized those things if they weren't in my own consciousness. And here I am today as a result, manifesting visions that I create in my mind. I now have a partnership with Mark and Davine. I'm speaking, training, coaching. I'm healthier in body, mind, and spirit than ever before, just to name a few things. And it all came off that one card that you guys just did. Okay, so if you didn't do it, just like Mark always says, and he just said it a minute ago, players get paid, spectators pay to watch players play, right? And I was
Yeah.
sick and tired of being a spectator, okay? I don't know about you. I hope you are too. And it really came down to the 7 laws of the mind that created transformation. So I said to Mark, you've got to get
Huh?
this stuff down on paper. And he said, well, write it with me. Okay. And then here we are tonight.
Thank you.
And I promised you also scientific proof. So we're going to do that right now.
Yeah, the thing that's happened, it was talked about for so long that spirituality and science would never unite. Well, they have united. Science has now humbled itself and become aware that the ancients knew what they were talking about, and we're going to talk about them tonight too, and proof of this lamp that's in you. But I know what you're thinking. If you're like Lori, if you're like me, a creative genius, I have this genie at my command. Come on, that's again, like Lori said, the woo stuff. But in the search for geniuses began with NASA in the mid 60s. And this study proved that the conditioning that I talk about all the time is real. And your greatness, your creativity, Rebecca, yours, Walter, is locked up. That's what we meant by locked instead of unblocked. In the 60s, they commissioned a study to find creative geniuses to expand the program. And for some reason, they started testing younger and younger people. They found out that 98% of 5-year-olds test out even today as creative geniuses, which means so are you, so is I, so is everybody. Okay. They followed them for 25 years and retested them as adults, and only 2% of them ranked as creative genius. Your genius is locked up. I mean, what happened? They got stupid all of a sudden? It got taken away? They lost their genius and creativity? No, it got conditioned. If you don't think you've been conditioned, you've been perfectly conditioned. The machine, since the beginning of time, these governments have this insatiable appetite. I'm not here to criticize our government or anybody else's. This is just historically accurate. The individual has always been a threat to the machine. It's insatiable appetite and relentless quest for control, and it works on 4 principles: scare them, divide them, demoralize them, and bring them to the circus. What's the circus? Well, they're going to tell you, if you think the way that we want you to think, you'll be successful, you'll be happy, and you'll fit in. And it's all bullshit, and it's not good for you. Oh, by the way, we're kind of blunt here. Okay. Anyway, your incredible gift, this creativity, your imagination. We're the only life form on the planet with imagination, and it's been reduced to ego based on other people's values, not your heart's desire. And we'll give you the proof. Now, your parents, I'm sure they did the best that they could, but their byproducts are the same hidden agendas and control of the machine. Other people's ideas for your life. You know what they say? You go to school, you can be anything you want to be, but you better follow the rules like everybody else. You're going to a principal's office. You go 3 times out of school, living under a bridge, under a box, but you can be anything you want. What a crock. No wonder we're confused, right? So how did 98% vanish? Well, Dr. Land found there's 2 kinds of basic thinking: divergent, which is imagining new possibilities with new ideas and building on them. But he discovered the individuality got discouraged or punished, and creativity got discouraged in the schools. And convergent thinking, in other words, comply, 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 for evaluating and decision making, got rewarded, and competitiveness replaced creativity and harmony. This is what I told you. Scare them, divide them. And it starts right there. Oh, she got a C, she's stupid, right? We all felt that stuff. Anyway, the blockade to your creativity is that conditioning. We either create our reality or we copy others. And most of us don't even know we're copies of copies. The conditioning begins early. This is what Land wrote. When we look inside the brain, we find the neurons are fighting with each other, actually diminishing the power of the brain because we're constantly judging, criticizing, and centering. And when you turn on the internet and you go through social media and you watch the news, what are you hearing? Judging, criticizing, and censoring. It's the narrative, 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 and you adopted it. We want to help you break through that. And you don't need to do anything or be negative about it. The real problem is that convergent overrides divergent, and your creativity gets diminished. Here's the actual facts. 5 years old, 98%. By the time they were 31, 2%. Listen, curbing divergent thinking, idea generation, novelty, etc., creates cognitive conflict, thereby depleting the capacity of your brain. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. Okay. The ancients knew this. The report concluded we're born with the potential of creative genius, but by the time you're an adult, it's been beaten out of, this is Dr. Land, 98% of us. Okay. All that happened for me and Lori, we just decided to forget about everything else and reclaim that genius. Can we rewire our non-creative adult brains? Absolutely. But it takes work. This is why Lori, myself, and Training Solutions, we're not mainstream, because people want what? Convenient, comfortable, and instant. Good luck. If you decide to go that way, we'll still be here next year. Okay. The work begins with courage. This isn't new. The ancients knew this before NASA, meaning your genius is real, just like it is in Rebecca. what she sees in her husband, it's in her. Okay. It might play out in different ways, but it's there. And I know she's a creative woman. I had a chance to spend some time with you, right? It was awesome. Okay. Your genius is real. There is greatness within you. Both science and the illuminated ones have offered proof. What do I mean by the illuminated ones? Jesus, Buddha, Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, Marcus Aurelius, Emerson, Whitman, Thoreau. The list goes on and on. Imagine if you resurrected that creative genius and found your real heart's desire and turned a creative genius loose on that heart's desire. That's all that happened for me and Lori. And you know what? Compared to living the other way, as challenging as it is, it's much easier. Okay. So here's the proof.
95% of our life is coming from the programs of how to live life that we get in the first 7 years of life. And that's why poor people stay poor and rich people stay rich. The movie The Matrix is not science fiction. It's a documentary. Every human, first 7 years is hypnosis. The brain of a child under 7 is in a lower vibrational frequency. When you put wires on a person's head, you read electroencephalograph, reading brain activity. A child below 7 has a lower vibration than consciousness. It's called theta. Theta is imagination. That's how kids play a tea party with mud pies, but to them it's a real thing. A kid rides a broom, it's a horse. That's theta, imagination. Theta is also hypnosis. And the idea is this: before you can become conscious, if you don't have any programs, what are you going to be conscious of? So nature makes the first 7 years. What kind of programs are required to live on this planet? I say, how do you get them? Theta is hypnosis. You just watch. You watch your parents, you watch your siblings, and your community, because you have to learn how many 100,000 rules. Think about it. Just to be a functional member of a family and a functional member of a community, there are rules. Teach an infant these rules. You don't have to. First 7 years, they just observe it and just download it. And then I say, well, why is it relevant? Because this is the unfortunate fact. 95% of our life comes from those programs in the subconscious. Every day, only about 5% of their life are you using conscious, which is creative. 5%. And you don't see it because it's called subconscious, below conscious. And the Jesuits, for 400 years, they were boasting. People didn't understand. They say, give me a child until it's 7 and I will show you the man. They've been saying that for 400 years because they knew 7 years was the program period. And 95% of your life after that will be whatever that program is. A child isn't functioning in consciousness until after 7. Before 7 is direct record. Whatever you just said, I just recorded it. So if the parent gets mad at the child, says, you don't deserve that, you don't deserve this, go. The child is not consciously understanding what you mean. Child's just recorded, I do not deserve. Now, if I hear that several times, especially in an emotional situation, because that downloads it faster, now I'm 40, 50 years old. What is my behavior 95% of the time? And the answer is what comes from the program. I do not deserve. Well, that means unconsciously I will sabotage myself to make sure that the program is correct. I'm making the program true by adjusting the behavior to meet the program. Look, this is not new. I mean, there's a famous book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And basically said you come from a poor family and you could struggle your whole life and try to get rich, but you're not going to make it. And if you come from a rich family, you could be stupid your whole life and make it. Not because it was thinking, but it was unconscious behavior that was downloaded from rich families into kids, which is unconscious. So they're making the right moves unconsciously. If they engage their conscious mind, then they look stupid, but it's unconscious. And that's the same thing with poor people. Poor people have beliefs from the family. Oh, you can't make it. Life's a struggle. Things are hard. Who do you think you are? And if that's the program you get, then 95% of the day, you will sabotage yourself. And that's why poor people stay poor and rich people stay rich, because the programming. Before I put this knowledge into effect, and I use the word put into effect, why? I had the knowledge academically. It's like, oh my God, look at the research. What does it mean? I understood it from the level. And with all that knowledge, it didn't change my life. People read self-help books. I go, well, you read the book. You got a lot of knowledge. Is your life changed? No, but you got a lot of knowledge. And so here's the difference. The conscious mind is creative and can learn in any number of ways. Read a self-help book, go to a lecture, listen to this, and conscious mind is going to get some awareness. But subconscious mind doesn't learn that way. So 95%.
And that's the trick. The subconscious mind doesn't learn that way. So all of you wonderful people that have read 10, 15, 20 self-help books, if you're anything like me or Lori, you get all excited again and then crash. All excited and crash because your life didn't change. Right, Lori?
That's exactly right. Like most people, I had read lots of self-help books and suddenly I understood why they weren't causing transformation, okay? It actually takes place in the subconscious mind. And the science you all just saw literally blew my mind. It should blow your mind. 95% of your decisions are made by your subconscious, which we like to fondly call subby here in our company. And get this, it's made 7 seconds before your conscious mind even knows, which is all ego, by the way. Okay, subby doesn't learn from reading. So now that you know why all the self-help books that you've read, like me, you now understand why they didn't work to create transformation. We read them, we understand them, we might even quote them, but just like it said in the video, nothing changed for me either. How about you guys? Okay, is it safe to assume you all are here for transformation tonight?
Yeah.
Everybody
Yeah.
agree with that? Hands? Does that
Yeah.
make sense, you
Yeah.
guys? Okay.
Yeah. Because if you're here to learn that one hack that's going to change your life and you're going to lose 40 pounds, have a great relationship, make a lot of money, and all the time, you're either on drugs or you need to be. We don't sell that shit here. Okay. We sell reality here. And the reality is you're a creative genius. We want to help you resurrect it. It was that convergent conditioning in real life. Convergent conditioning creates biases. One could make a case that there's dozens and dozens of biases, but our 50 years, me, Lori, and Davine, of collective experience shows that there's 5 big ones, and all the other ones are sort of somewhere under that umbrella. If one replaces the big 5 biases that are running, Rebecca, on a subconscious level, meaning you don't even know they're running, okay? If you replace those with the 7 laws of the mind, it's game over, like it has been for over 4,000 people that we've worked incredibly effective with. For example, and by the way, I'm not going to run the table on 4,000 people, and these are not bogus testimonials like you see with 90% of the people out there. You can look her up. She's the street smart diva, Julie Hoffman. A credit score of 400. She was bankrupt when we met her and walked her through this material. She just passed the $100 million marker in sales. Her passion is for getting people into that first home, and she's crushing it. Lori King, again, you can look her up. She's nationally known. She was forced into menopause earlier through surgery. She was really depressed and everything when she came across this stuff. She wrote a book called Come Back Strong. Now she's a fitness guru, and she's helped thousands of women come back strong from menopause. And Victor was discontent. Again, a best-selling author, and to tell you that he's legit, he is totally opposed to that GP1 or GLP1 or whatever it is, because Victor's not going to do what's popular. He's going to tell you the truth. And here's the thing: they rave about their lives. But what's important to know about Julie and Lori and Victor and me and Lori, we couldn't be any more different personality types. They had 3 things in common, right, Lori?
Yeah, if they couldn't be more different. What I do know that they all 3 had in common is that they were all frustrated, discontent, and unfulfilled in their lives, like Mark and I shared with you about ourselves. But the 3 things they had in common that transformed things for them is 1, they took ownership of the 5 big biases that were running their life. They laid their ego down. And I hope you all are willing to do that. If you want change, you have to, okay? 2, they made a commitment to replace the 5 big biases with the 7 laws of the mind. And 3, and this is really, really key, they worked with a mastermind alliance. Now, I'm just going to tell you this point blank, okay? None of this stuff works. And you saw that video. It doesn't work unless you have a mastermind alliance of people who are going to keep you on track with whatever your plan and purpose is after you discover it, okay? And give you hands-on live help. I'm not talking about videos or cute phone apps anymore. I'm talking about live hands-on help, okay?
Right. Yeah, and so the big breakthrough, of course, which we know from science today, that's indisputable and has matched absolutely dead on, not close, dead on, what the ancients, the Buddha, the Christ, and so forth have been screaming from the top of their lungs, and it's been around for 5,000 plus years, is that the mind runs on laws, just like physics, just like aerodynamics, and just like chemistry. If you disobey those laws, okay, you either nothing happens because you didn't do it right, or you end up with a disaster, okay? Most people know more about their cell phone than their brain. The average person picks their cell phone up 97 times a day for no reason. And I know what you're thinking right now, and that's Laurie's point. Your mind is saying, oh, I don't do that. And we're going to prove to you that's one of the biases that's running. And until you break that, you are destined to what? Repeat the past, okay? This is all from conditioning. The ancients have been telling stories of creative geniuses for over 5,000 years. Why does it matter, Lori?
Well, at this point, we've established that the software in your subconscious mind is running your life, sequestering that creative genius, like Mark said, and you don't hear your heart's desire anymore. I didn't hear mine, okay? It's not your fault, but we can't see these, and that's the point. The realization happens by us learning to observe our own behavior. That's key. So let's talk about the 5 big biases, okay? You're going to see them up here on the slide. There's negativity bias, comparison, sunk costs, and we're going to go over each one of these. This unconscious operating system, these 5 things sequester the creative genius or the genie that's in you. So you've got to do the work to replace the biases.
And one of the biases is going to tell you that this is bullshit. And that's your ego. And you get to keep what? What you have. Okay. So negativity bias is the first one. And the sociologist identified this years ago. And your average psychologist, when you sit down with them, they ask a series of questions to find out where you are with carrots and sticks. What does that mean? It means back in the caveman days, carrots, which was nourishment and mates, would perpetuate and sustain the species. Sticks would kill us. So me, you, and Harry go down to the river to get some water and hopefully some food. And Harry says, wow, look at that beautiful animal. It's a saber-toothed tiger. He goes over, and the saber-toothed tiger does what? It kills and eats Harry. Okay. We take a picture of that in our mind, and we don't go down to that part of the river anymore. Okay. We definitely don't go near saber-toothed tigers. As a matter of fact, and again, this is part of your ego is going to say, oh no, I'm a positive person. Every human being has survived, has a chain dating back 100 to 150,000 years because of negativity bias. It makes you human, doesn't make you bad. But that number one thing in the subconscious mind is survival. So there's a negativity bias out there, which means we have what? A genetic predisposition to negativity. So if you're one of the people that's nice enough to be here with us today, notice you're saying, I'm not negative. Yeah, you are. Then we're going to get to what's known as confirmation bias in a minute. But this is why bad news travels fast, criticism sticks like Velcro, and compliments slip off like Teflon. The mind is protective, not broken, Rebecca. It's impossible to move forward when we're constantly scanning unconsciously for threats. My imagination should actually charge me for these incredible disaster movies it creates in my mind in a nanosecond. And until you know that it's all a lie, you're going to succumb to it and not take any risk. So we want to rebalance by identifying 10 to 20 things that you do right every day. A core habit in the 7 laws of the mind, mastermind, and workbook. Confirmation bias, right, Lori?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Your mind looks for evidence that it's already right, and then it filters out anything that challenges it. So here's a great example. If you believe that you're not good with money, well, your mind is going to put you into situations that prove it because it is designed to grant you exactly what you want. And when you focus on that, you're going to get more of it. The video went through this, okay? So the next one is a really important one. If you believe that people can't be trusted, that's inherently what you think, your mind will actually unconsciously organize realities to match that belief. Not because it's true, but because it's familiar to what? To what the mind actually believes. It's going to confirm that belief. So an easy way to see it is like this. Like most people, I considered myself open-minded, right? Until somebody didn't agree with me. And the reality is the brain is going to delete contradictory information before we're even aware of it. So, some guy starts talking about something and it's different than what I believe, and I can tell he's different. So in my mind, oh, he's a loser. In that moment, creation stops, okay? The lamp, that wish granter inside of you, the creative genius, is killed because creation requires what? New input, okay?
Right. And so just think about that and think back to when I said the average person picks their phone up 97 times. Just be honest with yourself. Did you say, no, not me? That's confirmation by saying,
Right.
that's not right.
Yeah.
Because it's in what? Disagreement. Go ahead, Lori.
Yeah,
I love this one.
That's so true. This one amazes me. This one I'm passionate about. All of them, really. It feels intelligent, social comparison bias, but it is paralyzing, folks. Hundreds of thousands of years ago in small tribes, it gave us a sense of security or safety and belonging, much like negativity bias. A lot of these are connected to that. But today, it is a brutal energy drain, particularly with social media, and it eats your self-worth. And I believe a lot of you might agree with me. I think you might, especially younger people here, they're drawing their values based on what they're seeing on TikTok. Okay. Look, to have a life of fulfillment and abundance, to let that genie out of the bottle, it requires our creativity. And that happens in your lane. Okay. When you are comparing, it sucks the joy out of your life because you're always going to find somebody to compare yourself to that you don't think you're as good as them, that they're better than you for some reason. This takes you out of your lane. It collapses your identity. Okay, look, it is okay to watch other people that you see as successful and borrow their strategy, get some tips, but don't try to be like them. Don't try to adopt their identity. That's sad, and people do it all the time. Most people have rented their identity. In other words, they're an amalgam of what they've been exposed to, especially on social media these days. And this kills the lamp that's inside of you. That's your manifesting machine. That's not where your greatness lies. Your greatness lies within you. Okay. Yeah, and then we have status quo bias. This sedates your momentum, okay? It convinces us that staying still is wisdom. So guess what? We don't take those risks. Now, I don't know about anybody on this call tonight, but there's so many things that I regretted not doing, not taking the risk. It stopped me. And if you work with any of us, not only will you replace those 5 biases with the 7 laws of the mind as your new operating system, but you'll also have 2 mastermind partners that'll support you with your plan and purpose hands-on. And that gives you that edge, that courage. I needed that to move forward, okay? And if you don't think you do, think again. I mean, how's it working for you? Okay. Look, I'm not trying to be a wise guy here, but it wasn't working for me. And I wanted to do everything myself. That was my mentality. And you know what? It just doesn't work out because one of these biases, particularly this one, will end up taking over.
Yeah. And then this is a PIP. Okay. Sunk cost bias. This one keeps you stuck longer than almost anything else, right? We stay at bad jobs, failing home-based businesses, bad relationships, and self-sabotaging habits because I've already invested so much in Rebecca. Time, energy, emotion, and money. We've all done it, right? Here's the truth. That time is gone, and sticking with things will never recover that time. That is that confirmation bias working in conjunction. You want to be right about all this time and money I put into Rebecca, okay? These work in harmony against you, and they're unconscious. Sticking with it has a perfect failure rate. You'll fail 100% of the time because of this. Those decisions are made from the past. Creation only happens when moving forward. So you want to ask yourself, if I was starting fresh today, would I choose this again? And if the answer is no, take the hit. Okay, take the hit. Nobody's going to care. They're too busy thinking about themselves. Just take the hit and say, oh, geez, what a dope to invest all that time or money in this person or that business or whatever. Learn the lesson and free the genie. The great message of the ancients is now validated by science. The lamp is real. The lamp is you. And now we're into woo-woo stuff. And one or more of these 5 prejudices are saying, I think they're exaggerating a little bit, or they're full of shit, or whatever it happens to be. It's all good, but just notice where you're resisting and remember what Lori told you where I trapped her. Do you realize you're arguing against yourself? We're telling you you're creative genius, that the lamp is real. It's in you. What's the lamp? Well, it's actually your mind. We talked about this before, the laws, right? Disobey them, nothing happens. Most people about their cell phone and their brain, right? The 7 laws of the mind. The minimum is 97 times a day. The average person actually picks their phone up 144 times a day for no reason. This is conditioning. The ancients have been telling stories of creative genius for over 4,800 years. Listen to this. This is from T-Mobile. More than half of Americans, 57%, actually admit they're addicted to their phones. On average, in 23, people are checking their phones 144 times a day for no reason. It owns your ass. And what that does is it kills the genie. And it's like, oh yeah, that's woo-woo stuff. You just keep checking that phone. And maybe somebody will pop in there that's going to change everything for you. You want to know who's going to change for you? Go look in the mirror after this call. That's it. That's it. Okay. So the stories that explain the 7 laws of the mind, the key one we're talking about here, the Aladdin's lamp that's in you, the genie in the bottle, was first written about in 2450 BC, and this was the first trickster god. What's a trickster god, Ellie? Well, the first trickster god was Jinn, Jinn, and clearly anybody can see how that turned into genie in a bottle. Remember, what was that with Larry Hagman and I can't remember that Genie in a Bottle. Is that what that show was?
I Dream of Jeannie.
I Dream of Jeannie. So this was a wish granter. And the way it worked is this, okay? So Ellie, she was one of the workers in the fields. And she said, boy, it'd be nice if I had a little more gold so I could help my friends and take better care of my family. And I'm the prince. And I go, I want all the gold. And the trickster god would give all the gold to Ellie. Okay. So this trickster God has been trickster God is your subconscious mind. In other words, the law of subconscious activity. This is really, really important. The legend of the trickster God survives for one simple reason. And we were Fairy Godmother, Aladdin and the Magic Lamp, because it is what? A symbolic expression of the same truth. There is a power inside that responds to your desires if you align your heart with it. We all have an automated manifesting mechanism. And Ray, you saw that in the little Lipton clip that we did. The subconscious, our life is a printout of what we're holding in the subconscious mind. And if it's run by those 5 prejudices, John, you're screwed. Everybody is, not you personally, John. Your life is a printout of the thoughts that you hold, only you can't see them. Your ego, that 5%, John, tells you know everything that's going on. And you know what, John? If you're anything like me, you know what's wrong with the federal government, the Reds or the Blues, or both of them. You know what's wrong with the post office. You know what's wrong with gas prices. You know what's wrong with everything. Yet somehow, secretly inside, my life sucked. Okay. And it wasn't that it was that bad. I just knew I could do better. I was in my own way. The 7 laws help us reclaim that creative genius, which is what? The law of subconscious activity. That's the Aladdin's lamp. And we're here to tell you again, the lamp is real. The lamp is you. And if you're going to argue against it, John, you're arguing against yourself. And you're saying that little piddly 5% ego is somehow going to work everything out despite being 40, 50, 60 years old. If we get honest about our track record, if we can own that sunk cost bias, because that's where it is, we're sure that we're right. Okay. Masterminding matters, right, Lori?
It absolutely matters, Mark. No one makes it to the top alone. Napoleon Hill actually said that. So I started masterminding with Mark. I told you we started working together, and I'm like, how smart is this guy? Like, it was kind of blowing my mind a little bit. He's shaking his head. But the stuff that he can put together, and then I figured it out. He's just very well read, and I found out he knew all about neuroplasticity and how it all works. He just didn't call it neuroplasticity. I'm a science nerd, right? By aligning with the ancients, he actually discovered that throughout the ages, the word divinity, which has been commandeered by religions, by the way, and we're not here to talk about any of that, but it turns out that in the ancient texts, divinity actually means to transcend limits. Okay, think about that. That's what we're talking about here, right? So
Aladdin's lamp all over again, right?
exactly.
To transcend limits.
Yeah. So Mark got all excited, as you can imagine. He's explaining it to me, and he says, "Look, if we write this has got to be great." Okay, so here, let me tell you a little bit about neuroplasticity. It means the brain's ability to rewire itself. And for most of the 20th century, scientists believed that the adult brain was fixed, that our IQ was fixed. But since the 90s, research in neuroscience has proven exactly the opposite, which is what the ancients have been talking about for over 4,000 years. So the brain rewires itself based on what you repeatedly think, feel, and do. And the key findings are that repetition strengthens your synaptic connections, repeating something, and a lack of use weakens or eliminates those connections, which it's also called synaptic pruning. So when we're talking about that, he's like, this has got to be great. We can't just do what the other gurus out there do. There's no more garbage in. This has got to be great. We have to put it together in that way. So, essentially, I just set out to do a little better and improve. But then he's like, let's change the world. Let's do something impossible. And I got to tell you, Mark's a genius at pulling these principles together in a way that fosters real transformation for people. This is which I've experienced myself. You've seen it already in some of the testimonials, and there's thousands of others. And so he said, let's do something impossible. So we started experimenting with the 7 laws. And the books that he's written, that I've written with him, really it all comes from Wallace Wattles. This is one of our favorite authors, and you need to know this. He says, it is not that winners do certain things. They do things in a certain way, okay? And we've actually explained that to you today. Most people are operating on those 5 biases, and your ego, like Mark said, is going to tell you that they're not, okay? But the 7 laws of the mind and standing tall, the ancient verities in that book, are based on the science of getting rich and the science of being great by Wallace Wattles. And there's proof that it works, okay? And there's proof that it doesn't matter how old you are, okay? This stuff works. This is at 72 years old, a dream that Mark had since he was 8 actually happened. It came true. This is not about baseball or Fenway Park, everybody, okay? It's about the fact that you can do anything you want at any age, okay? So there are 7 laws of the mind, Mark, right?
Yep.
And I'm going to cover the first 3 really, really briefly, just a synopsis so you get the point here. The first one that we address in the 7 laws of the mind is the law of forgiveness for a really important reason, okay? You cannot activate that creative genius or reclaim and resurrect that creative genius and keep that connection to the realm of divine ideas open to yourself if you hold a resentment towards someone else, whether justified or not, okay? We have to forgive everyone and anybody in order to keep that connection, that channel clear. Okay, so I judge no one, I forgive everyone, and this keeps my connection with the source of all ideas of all good clear. Next comes the law of relaxation, and this was an eye opener for me because I was that maniac multitasker that I thought I should be proud of. Mental effort defeats itself. That's exactly the opposite of physical effort. So you'll discover that a relaxed, calm state of mind is the only doorway to progress mentally. Okay. So I sit in silence every day and make time as a matter of habit to connect with the source. And then the law of practice. Okay. Since the beginning of time, old habits die hard and practice makes perfect. I don't care what endeavor, it is about practice, right?
Yep.
And this is why a mastermind alliance, and we'll be meeting twice a month, a mastermind will help you stay on track with that plan and purpose, okay? Just like it helped me break my old mental habits.
Yep. And I get to do the woo-woo stuff. The first one is the law of substitution, meaning what? You cannot dismiss a thought, John. So I say, think about the Statue of Liberty. And then I say, don't think about the Statue of Liberty. You're still thinking about it. You must substitute. The mind can only hold one thought at a time. So you have to learn how to substitute a different thought. The law of dual thought, very powerful. You may have missed it in that video, but he said when you hear that, you do not deserve, you do not deserve, especially if it's given emotionally, which downloads it faster. And you're going to learn how to make transformation with us virtually overnight in comparison to your life, how to charge it with emotion, because you can attach any feeling to any experience that you have. Okay. Like right now, some of you are skeptical. You can attach optimism to that. Okay. The law of subconscious activity, the whole webcast has been about that. It's been to prove that there is a creative genius in you. NASA was right. Jesus was right when he said, you'll do greater things than I. Okay. The biggest lie perpetrated on mankind, there's only one that's perfect. Well, the one that was perfect said you'll do greater things than I. So let's go do greater things together. That's the deal. We need to work together. And the law of growth is the granddaddy of them all. And that's what you think about grows. Unfortunately, Ray, most of us don't realize, I know you do, because I know a lot of the work you've been doing with us the last 6 months almost now, but that the subconscious is where 95% of that is taking place. So you can't see what you're thinking. You have to observe your behavior. So our life is a perfect printout of the thoughts that we're holding in our subconscious, not what we tell our wife or our buddies that we believe or our husband that we believe, but what we actually believe. So how are those 26 resolutions working out, the 2026 resolutions working out great for everybody? Now, Lori's a yellow personality type. I'm a red. She runs on feeling. I run on logic, right? We both set resolutions and failed to keep them before we leveraged the 7 laws of the mind, awoken the creative genius within ourselves. Now we don't set them. We're just simply following our bliss and both getting paid to do what we love. Okay. So we don't determine our life. The second most important thing I can tell you is you do not determine your life, your habits do. And don't kid yourself, those 5 prejudices, if you eliminated 2 or 3 of them and think you don't have them, you've been perfectly conditioned. And you're actually operating with them in that thought process. And if you're thinking, who the hell is he to be talking to me like that? Well, there's confirmation bias. He doesn't know what he's talking about. I do. Okay. And that would be me, John. Okay. That would be me. All right. So I'm making fun of me too. Resolutions are just ideas sitting on the same old habit mind. Second most important thing, like I said, is that we don't determine our lives. Our habits do. Where are the habits? They're in the subconscious mind. Okay. And the conscious mind's going to tell you, I'm going to change. I'm going to start exercising and lose weight. That was 50 years ago. Okay. I'm still 20 pounds overweight. Okay. Get a grip on reality. How about you? Anyone care to share those resolutions they set in 2025? Does anybody even remember the resolutions they set in 2025? Okay. Did you keep them? Did your life change? We all know where resolutions go to die. They go to February to die, right? Okay. So, and then we talked about the self-help books. Look at Lori told you in the agenda that there's a success formula that never fails. It was actually a book written by W. Clement Stone, The Success System That Never Fails. Stone made Napoleon Hill of Think and Grow Rich, Rich and Famous. Hill was a bum that Stone resurrected his career. Stone had $100 in his pocket at age 33. He died at age 99 with a net worth of 2 billion, and he had given away $1.5 billion. Anyway, he was my trainer in 1971. I flew out to Chicago. He trained me personally. Why is that important? Because this is the formula, a definite major purpose. And we found in doing this collectively, myself and Lori and Dave Boswell, who's here today. Thanks for being here, Dave, and Davine. So the four of us, we've got somewhere around 60 years invested. And when we ask people what they want, they don't know. They tell us what they think they want, Manal. And I know you have to pay attention to this for the business that you have. If you listen closely, they're really telling you what they don't want. Oh, I want to get rid of my credit card debt. I want to pay off my mortgage. They're not telling you what they want. There's no achievement there. What are they trying to do? It's actually heartbreaking, John. They're trying to get back to what? Zero. They're trying to get to zero. That's not a life of achievement. That's not a creative genius. That's someone that's what? Scared, divided, demoralized. Okay. So we'll help you find your definite major purpose while you're on the planet. A real positive mental attitude, not quotes, a written plan expressed in continuous action, and a mastermind alliance. Why is mastermind alliance in red? You're probably wondering. Well, it's pretty simple because that's the one that we see constantly missing, which is so nice, Manal, to be masterminding with you. And she's going to build the largest agency in the world. And I'm like so awesome and to be linked in with that. That's someone who's awoken the creative genius. Okay. So you get the 7 laws of the mind instantly. You get the science of getting rich, the science of being great. We're going to cover the first 3, but like Lipton shared, not much will change if you just read the books, Ray. This is why the mastermind is in red. This is the missing ingredient. You need a mastermind alliance to keep you on track with plan and purpose. So courses online, they're okay. Apps, a little less than okay. Okay. But boy, do they tailor right into what people want. Convenient, right? It's got to be convenient. It's got to be comfortable, and it's got to be instant. And that's how they're marketed. And if you've bought any of that stuff, how's it working out for you? That's what you have to ask yourself. So a mastermind alliance, this is not a course we're offering you. It's not an app. Okay, we're going to give you plenty of resources. It is a hands-on guidance into transformation. And again, like Lori said, it's not about copying. It's about copying the strategy, but not the identity, John. Does that make sense? So Manal is not trying to be like me. She's going to be better. She's going to do more than I did. And I'm rooting for it. Why? Because that's good for my business. Okay. So the bottom line, and you heard Lori say, Mark kept saying, mechanism perfect, mechanism perfect, right? This is from Charles Hannell. The mechanism, meaning this, is perfect. And here's why it's perfect, John. If you don't like your life that much, right? Like you pretend you do, but secretly you wish it was different. It's because the mechanism is perfect. What's been programmed in there, you have an automated manifesting mechanism in you that has manifested what you're holding in thought, proving what? The mechanism is perfect, created by the master architect who doeth all things well. But unfortunately, sometimes the operator is inexperienced or inefficient. Now, in my case, John, it was both. I was inexperienced and I was inefficient. But practice, there's the law of practice, and determination overcomes this defect. When purpose is injected with love, Hannell wrote, genius is born. And the Christ said, you'll do greater things than I. He also talked about the law of substitution when he said, resist not evil. Don't try to resist it. Turn your eye someplace else. He said, if thy right eye offend thee, pluck it out. What was he talking about? The law of substitution. He wasn't talking about actually taking your eye out. Put your eye on something good. Einstein said, highlights that genius is bound by one thing, discipline. How it works, meaning the mind, is a requirement to discipline. How can you discipline yourself if you don't know the laws? And what did Einstein say? It runs on 7 laws. So resolutions don't work, 7 laws do. right? And no more discontent, enraptured with life, vital, not exhausted, fulfilled instead of wondering what happened, right? Earning more than you can imagine. But most importantly for us is following your bliss and lighting up a room when you walk into it non-verbally. It's just, and we all know one or two people we've met like that. And it's like secretly we're drawn to them and we want to take a pen and stab them right in the throat, right? Because what do they know that I don't? Is there something going on that I don't know about? So the lamp is real. This is Dawn Anderson. When we met her, she was depressed. She was failing in Minnesota. She's a single mother of 8 girls and wanted to do good network marketing. She became top 1/10 of 1% of the earners using this material. And her dream was to live in Carolina. The network marketing company went out of business. She didn't miss a beat because she had the 7 laws. And she started a company that employs 33 women, all single moms. And she's living the dream on Carolina Beach. This is John Novello, who for his whole life had been a backup musician. His wife died when we met him. He was depressed and he used the 7 laws of the mind to awaken the creative genius. He had a #1 hit on Billboard and he became a best-selling author. He calls it the silent architect. I call it the intuitive visitor, Aladdin's lamp, whatever you want to call it. That the divinity in the universe wants the best for you. What did they have in common? The same 3 things that over 4,000 transformers like Candy has. 1, took ownership of the big 5 biases running their life instead of letting their ego get in the way. 2, they committed to replacing the big 5 biases, not by thinking about them, John, but by studying and applying the 7 laws of the mind in a mastermind alliance with hands-on help. And 3, they worked with an authentic mastermind alliance. There's no mystery between the other 3 I showed you and this one. And again, we don't give you bogus testimonials. You can look these people up. You can look them up, and we wish that you would, okay? 2 types of people. It's either going to be a breakout year or it's going to be a repeat of the past. I know Manal is not going to be a repeat. She's moving from good to great. Top producer anyway, but she saw an opportunity to push her limits. So what are you going to do? Repeat the past or have a breakout year? The 7 laws of the mind. The lamp is real. The lamp is you. In the course, you get the 7 laws of the mind, an instant PDF download for you, and we'll mail you a hard copy if you live in the USA. If you don't, go buy it on Amazon. We'll just send you the money through PayPal or something. You get the workbook, you get a members area, you get 2 masterminding Zooms a month, you get an accountability, a written plan of action, and these are 2 $500 courses that we have. The science of being great that Lori talked about, and the science of getting rich. And again, it's not that winners do certain things, that they do things in a certain way. And that certain way is they understand how their mind works. They don't think if they get this, if they do that, everything's going to be okay. It's too limiting. And so those are thrown in too. Okay. And we know people want to talk with me or Lori. So you get a one-on-one for 30 minutes with us. Okay. And because you stayed, normally it would be $497, but we're going to give you a coupon, 7 laws transform, and that will take another 200 off. So we'll go over there and show you what that looks like. So this is all you have to do is come over here. Lori, can you drop that link in there? And all I have to do is hit enroll. Enroll the course.
The fabulous Davine put it in there already. It's both the,
She is fabulous.
there's a lot of
then-
reasons we call her that.
Yep. And then you just put this in here. Let's go back here. Take this. Whoops. Continue to share. Okay. Transform. Okay. All right. And so you would just drop this somewhere in here. Oh, there it is. Enter coupon. You just drop that in there, apply, and there you go. You're at 277. And we'll open this up for questions and criticism. And aren't you a cocky jerk, Mark, and all that? I love all that stuff. Anybody have anything we can help them with? Questions, comments? Yes, Minal.
I do want to share with the group that I was exposed to Mark about a year and a half back, but the timing was not right, and I had to start something new of my own. Wherever I went, whichever webinar I went, I saw all these principles in some shape or form, and I used to text Mark that either these gurus have taken classes from you or whatever, because wherever I go, I see these pieces coming up. So I'm very excited to be working with Mark, and my dream is to and I need blessings of all of you. My dream is to build the largest agency in this country. So thank you, Mark.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for the kind words. That's so nice. Yeah, it's exciting to be working with you, and that you've shed the 5 biases, and you're operating from the heart, which is really nice. Um, and we know what to do. We commit to excellence and detach from the outcome. That's the whole thing. The core of Christianity, the core of Buddhism, this is really one, and they're the same.
Mhm.
Do your best. Just do your best, and don't worry about anything else. Did you have something, Rebecca, you wanted to beat me up with or something?
No, I was looking for that coupon, but I found it. Thanks.
Okay. All right.
I love what Rebecca said, though. She said, I want to change the world for the better. I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. I
We
mean,
need more people in that mindset, right?
Just need to
yeah,
unlock
well,
it.
so
Yeah.
while you guys are thinking about questions and you want to challenge some of my strong points, okay. Um, I just told you, or you heard today, why there is no good news on the news anymore. And the reason is all they care about is ratings. And I don't hold that against them. But what sticks? Negativity or compliments? Negativity sticks because of the negativity bias. And that's why it's bad news, bad news, bad news. And we need the Manals, we need the Rebeccas, we need the Drew Tims, we need Hamber, also known as Amber Turrell. We need people with the good news, with the Mully type of stuff. There's a movie you should all watch called Mully. It's a true story. It'll blow your mind. It'll just absolutely blow your mind
Yeah.
because there's Mully in everybody, and Rebecca changing the world. Sometimes it's just 8 or 10 people,
Mhm.
but most people don't understand the parting of the Red Sea. They don't understand the feeding of hundreds from a few fish. They're metaphors that when you really want to break from the conditioning, the Red Sea will open. Okay. That's a true fact. And that you give encouragement in a home based business to 3 or 4 people and help them do a little better, who do it for 3 or 4 more each, who do it for 3 or 4. And now there's hundreds being fed encouragement that they can do it. And there's a way to do it. There's a way to do it. The old way, which is the popular way, join the company, wear the company colors, sing the company song, and I'm going up, we're going to take it to the top. We're all family and we love you. Okay. It doesn't work. It's never worked because it doesn't deal with the real problem. The real problem for Day or Candy or Lucas, thanks for being here, Lucas, or Patricia or Lorenzo or Ray, the real problem isn't out there. It's right here. And it's so solvable. The hilarity, I mean, the amount of criticism that I took in the 90s and into the early 2000s used to baffle my wife and say, how do you put up? I said, I don't even hear it because why would I invest in things that I know aren't true? And and I was carrying that message then, that there is a creative genius in all of us. And it's not going to work until we get honest with ourselves, Lucas, and say, and we can get through the conditioning and not pick goals based on mommy, daddy, the guidance counselor, the institutions, the government, the school system, our husbands or wives. But what's our heart's desire? Because the best way to take care of other people is to take care of yourself in an appropriate way and then show them how. And once you learn these 7 laws of the mind, it's so simple. It's so simple. And you might get pissed for a while. Why did they complicate it? Why did they? You know what? But you'll be too busy making great things happen and you won't really care. I don't really care. It doesn't matter. It's about enlightenment, and you can enlighten yourself, or you can use one or more of those 5 biases and say, yeah, I think I'll think this over. My question is, how old are you? How long are you going to take to think it over? A couple months. How old will you be in a couple of months if you do this? How old will you be if you don't do this? Same age, right? What you have to know when those biases are blocking you is that this time it's going to be different. And what is that? Confirmation bias, status quo bias. That's what it is. And and as interesting, I was having a conversation with Manal the other day, and her partner Nazar, and we were talking about the real business that you're in when you're in a home-based business is behavior modification. You have to help people modify their behavior, and if you think that they're going to get to 5,000 a month and that's going to change them, and then you're going to believe, again, you're either on drugs or you need to be on drugs because it doesn't work. What works is tapping the creative genius, letting go of the conditioning, Larry, and grabbing that heart's desire. The Red Sea will part. Again, it's a metaphor. I'm not a religious guy. It's a metaphysical textbook. That's really what it is. Someone wrote down how to think. And to tell you the truth, the 7 laws of the mind come right out of that. They come right out of the Buddha. They come right out of Wallace Wattles. The illuminated ones like Nietzsche and all that, they've carried the same message. And the reason that it stood the test of time is simple. It's true. It's true. It's it's not rocket science. Anybody have anything that we can help them with so that I don't continue to blather on? We're good? You got something, Ray? John? You good? Okay. Peace and love, everybody.